Welcome back to SpeterTV. If you've been on the internet for any amount of time now, chances are you've heard of the Mandela effect. If not, in short, it's when a number of people independently remember something being a certain way, but then it turns out that it was never that way. The term came up after the death of former South African President Nelson Mandela. See, he died in 2013, but a lot of people remember him dying in prison in the 80s. And there are many other similar examples, including cartoon-related ones. So I decided to take a few of those and tell you what I remember, going in order from least to most certainty. Now first, when you think of Alice in Wonderland, when you see her socks, are they white or are they white and black? You know, striped socks. A lot of people remember them being striped, but no, they're just white. Just some white socks, or stockings or leggings or whatever they are. Now what do I remember? Well, I kinda don't. The white socks look more right to me, honestly. Seeing her with striped socks just looks too busy, and I don't really like that design too much. And I feel like I would have at least noticed that. I think she would look a little too stumpy with the stripes on the socks. Okay, next. Curious George is a monkey, right? And you know that because you know monkeys have tails, right? Right? Well, he does not have a tail. And he never did. He never had a tail. And when I look at Curious George, it's not like he looks, bad or weird or naked without a tail, but I can't imagine me as a kid calling him a monkey without him having a tail. I was a pretty specific and literal kid. I was the type to pay attention to details like that, especially with animals and what makes the difference between certain ones that I can recognize. So again, it's not like it looks wrong to me, so I'm not really sure what I remember per se, but I feel like it's just something that I would have noticed. Okay, the next one. I was never really into Pokemon, right? But I remember Pikachu having a black tip on his tail, and he does not. It's not there, and it was never there. And I could have sworn it was there, it's crazy. But again, I was never really into the franchise, so I guess what do I know? Okay, the next one. Some people remember the Flintstones as being the Flintstones with no T. And I do not remember that. I've been watching the Flintstones like since I was really little, like probably before I was born. And it's always been Flintstones. Flint is a stone, it's a thing. I mean, it's not technically a stone, but I'm not getting into like geology right now. But I've always remembered it as Flintstone the way it is. And lastly, probably the biggest one. Is it Berenstein bears or Berenstein bears? Again, as I said, I was a rather detail-oriented kid, right? And the thing that maybe confused me the most in elementary school was how everybody was saying Berenstein bears when the books clearly said Berenstein. Like, I've always remembered it as Berenstein, but I've always remembered people saying Berenstein, and I've always remembered wondering why they're saying it wrong. And I think it's just because Berenstein seems like it would be the actual name, and it probably sounds a little bit better than Berenstain. So I've always sort of remembered it as a slight and easy to understand lapse in attention to detail there. Like, I can understand how on the top sticker on the picture of the infamous VHS that says Berenstain and on the side says Berenstein would happen. Like, that's a pretty easy mistake to make, especially for like a graphic designer who isn't too familiar with the subject. And for the record, I did go to school for graphic design, so I can understand that sort of typo being made, but it shouldn't. But that said, I remember Berenstein, but I totally understand how people remember Berenstein. But let me know what you remember in each of these and any other one that I may not have covered. There are some other ones that I just didn't go over because, well, my personal memory isn't too strong for them. But yeah, let me know what you think. Share this out. Let's see what your people think, your friends and family. You know, your people. Feel free to like this comment. Wow. Feel free to like this video or dislike this video or subscribe. If you get me to 100, I got a special video coming, just saying. And I'll see you next week. Probably.